so grateful today to have Siddhi sharing that wisdom with us. And her talk today is called Caring for the Organ That Shapes Every Experience. I bet you know what that is. Uh, and there will be a brief question and answer when she's done. So please welcome Siddhi. So grateful to have her.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, everyone in the room. I'm actually calling in from Westlake Hills in Texas, which is beautiful over here. So I wanted to share about the brain, and maybe a little background to that, because we all have a brain, but not everyone knows how to serve the brain. And for me, that showed up, I invented organ cleanses, and I think it was in 2000. So I was known in the area where I lived, and I taught literally hundreds of organ cleanses. And 12 years into it, a woman comes in the morning to my class and she said, Siddhi, do you have something for the brain? And I was totally taken aback. I was like, for the brain? And I realized that I had so much emphasis on the heart, the liver, the kidneys, you name it. But I totally neglected and even never thought of the brain. So I thought it was literally an intervention because it made me curious. And I thought, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm a yogini. I thought, God, what can I do for the brain? And how would a brain cleanse look like? You know? Um, so I did a lot of reading. I don't have a doctor in anything. I'm just did a lot of reading and research and to find out, okay, what can we do? Because the fact is, we get so much older now. If I think back when I was a kid, I'm turning 70 now, a woman was 70 years old. I thought, oh my God, they're really old. They will die soon. And now we don't. We continue living into the 90s, some even into the hundreds. But what we also do is we are not aging often very healthy. Yeah, and especially when it comes to the brain, and I don't have to repeat it, we know how much dementia grew and Alzheimer's, how many people suffer from mental disturbances. And so, how can we take care of this machinery up here that really is accountable for everything that we experience? And it was interesting in my research, I came across Dr. Amen. And Dr. Amen was great for me to inquire into his wisdom and his knowledge, because if you start inquiring into what can I do for my brain, there are so many different opinions and ideas. But Dr. Amen had by then already, in 2013, 85,000 brain scans. And he had brain scans of people who smoked a lot of marijuana, people who drink a lot of caffeine, people who had a lot of sugar or a poor diet. I mean, all kinds of situations. Also, when they drank a lot of wine. And you could see how on these screens, on these pages, how the brain totally shifts. Yeah, so that was for me a moment of awakening and also a realizing, wow, I was told 1 or 2 glasses of wine is perfect, although I never drink, but that's what you heard. But fact is, to get the benefits from what is in the wine, you would have to drink a lot every evening. So, and Dr. Amen showed with these scans that 2 glasses of wine on a daily basis is a sure path to Alzheimer's. Not for everyone, there are always exceptions, yeah? And how caffeine impacts the head, the brain, and sugar and stress. So, and what I learned, what I took from it, and that's really also my invitation to you. It's not about, oh, I can never have a glass of wine. I should never drink a cup of coffee. No, these are pleasures that we want in life. But if our pleasures become daily habits, they will turn against us. And that was my takeaway, that everything in moderation will be just wonderful for us. Yeah, celebrate the times when you are with your family and you have a glass of wine in the evening with a divine dinner and great company. But don't sit in front of the TV every evening and have your glass of wine. That, like I said, will be counterproductive for you on the long term. So what I also learned is that I don't know about you, but when I was young, I always was dreaming when I'm old, I can sit in the swing and just look outside and enjoy life. I learned, well, that's a great path to brain death. Because if we don't think, if we don't challenge ourselves, our brain actually shuts more down. So it is important that we challenge ourselves every day, just with a little bit. Like if you drive to the grocery store or to your friends, today or tomorrow, just take a different route and don't put on your GPS. Find your way through. Get into situations where you feel a little bit like uncomfortable and allow the brain to work through it. This would be a wonderful thing, and it's something we all can do. Find something every day where you switch your patterns and your habits. This will make you sharper. Yeah, getting up every morning, having the same routine is so unhealthy. Switch it up. Even if you have a spiritual practice like I do, it's so easy for me to do every morning the same thing. And it's a challenge for me to say, no, today I do this at that time and that at that time. And then today I take a walk. So really consciously, I make decisions in the morning. What do I shift around so that my brain doesn't get into the habitual behavior? Because then the neurons are not firing up. And that's what we want. We want our brain to be active, to be vital, so that we can think clearly, feel clearly, yeah, and do the right actions, take the right actions. Again, everything I say is not from a medical point of view. I want to be aware it comes from a yogini point of view. So tune into what feels right to me and my brain. What can I take? What doesn't fit? And then you just let it be. Fact is that this is our command center. This here, if this shuts down, the quality of our life will totally diminish. And that's for all of us. If we are 95 and we made it to that age and we can't remember the name of our children and grandchildren, what's the quality of life? Yeah, so we want to keep that thing up there working. And the most important thing is that we are moving. We gotta move. The average American today, we need to let that in, is sitting 187 days in the year. We're just sitting. We've never in history have said so much. Your forefathers, foremothers, they worked. They worked their body with all kinds of actions, hanging up the clothes outside and doing all this stuff, even rolling down the window. Now we go into cars, they do everything by themselves. We don't even have to steer the steering wheel anymore. So our body becomes totally lethargic. And what that does, it totally inflicts with the bioelectricity. And that is the language of our body. The electricity, the bioelectricity is the language of the brain, and that's communicating with the rest of our body. So if we are not moving, there will be less communication. And what happens is also that we will remember less, that we go less into action, that the communication between our organs and our brain are getting interrupted because the brain cannot tell my hand quick enough when to move and when not to move. So we need to put movement on the top of our list for the well-being of our brain. Because if the bioelectricity is functioning, then, through the nervous system, the brain tells exactly our body when to spring into action and when to slow down. So there are a lot of things that we need to, where we don't have control anymore, for the well-being of our brain. That has to do with our water, somehow, the air and the earth. And what is harming our brain, that's where we have to keep a little awareness, because a lot that is harming our brain could be, refined if we would be conscious about it. So what I want us to consider is movement. That's your choice. You can get up in the morning and you can sit on your couch and watch TV the whole day. That's a choice. But you could also say, I'm moving today for sure for 20 minutes. Sleep, you gotta have a good sleep. Yeah. A wonderful diet, food that nourishes the brain. Meditating, your prayers are actually beautiful for the brain. So that's wonderful if we keep that in alignment. Relationships, nourish your friendships, challenge yourself every day. And yes, please avoid too much alcohol, any kind of drugs, not medication. Be careful there. Yeah. And sugar. Sugar is a killer. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So you want to stay away from as much sugar as possible, because it ruins, like I mentioned before, it ruins the nervous system, and with the nervous system is totally connected to our head. So you want to be careful there. What else comes to my mind when I think? Okay, we need to, and I will get into that a little later. We need to activate our brain waves, because most of us are more activating two brain waves that are informed through stress and fear. And that's unhealthy. So, but we have the ability through simple shaking the body to bring our brain and body back into alignment, which is just wonderful. And it's simple shaking. And then we have in the back of our head a little, it's called the brain stem. Most people are not aware of it. And that little brain stem is actually like a conductor in a orchestra. If we activate the brain stem, and again, it's also through movement, very simple movement, we are firing up the brain. So we have to put a foot on stress. We have to put a foot on overthinking. How often do we all hear how many people are anxious? Well, anxiousness is happening only if we have too much air in our body and we are thinking ahead of our time. But if we're thinking ahead, our brain and our body doesn't know we are ahead. The brain thinks like it's happening right now. So constant stress is one of the worst things for our brain. So we can control our thinking as much as possible, please. When you feel like, oh, I think about what could happen tomorrow or the day after, just become aware. and say, stop, take a few breaths, bring yourself back into the present moment and become aware that right now, right here, there is no stress. The other thing is that a lot of people, and right now I observe that unfortunately a lot. So you all know that trauma is a big theme in our society right now. And it's important to move and work through traumas. Yeah, that's also important for the health of our brain. But what I observe is that people, they get together as friends and they share about their traumas. That is the most unhealthy thing you can do. If you have something that was traumatic for you, find a specialist, find somebody with whom you can share and who can help you with it. Because what you do to your brain and to your body is by repeating the story of your trauma, you re-injure yourself because your brain and your organs do not make a distinction if that story happened 10 or 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, or it's happening right now. So if I would share everything about my traumas, I re-injure myself. I relive the experience. So please, and even if you hear other people speaking about it, please make them aware, because right now there's an oversharing happening in our society, in my judgment. Yeah, and it's not serving anybody. And people don't know that they re-injure themselves. They think it's like sharing their experiences. But that's actually not what they're doing. They're hurting themselves. And they're creating also fear and concerns in the others. So those are things that we have under control. Yeah, we can ensure that we have a good night's sleep. And I like to start with the sleep right now, because insomnia is tremendously on the rise. Our brains have never been so, and I think bombarded or attacked is probably the right word right now, than ever in our history. We get information from all over the world in a blink of an eye, and you all know that. And there are a lot of informations, we can't do anything about it. But everything that goes into my optical nerve goes into my brain and sitting there. So if I watch a movie, if I watch something before I go to bed, my brain will work through it while I think I'm going to sleep. So it would be wonderful if before you go to sleep, number one, you go into your bedroom and you're not reading in your bed. We want to train the brain. So read in your living room, turn off, most of your lights and your electrical devices and just read a sweet book, like a passage or something. Prepare your brain for sleep. And then maybe after 15 minutes, however it feels right to you, you go into your bedroom. And please have no phones there, iPads, TVs, all that stuff. There should be no electrical devices in your bedroom because they interrupt your sleep pattern. And when you lie down in bed, everything should be pitch dark. And sometimes when I travel a lot, there are a lot of hotels room that drive me just crazy because there's the light from the fire alarm system and this. So I cover everything, even the tiny little red light on a TV in a hotel room. So I'm like, oh God. So I have a shawl that I always cover it. I ensure that my room is pitch dark and that I go to bed as much as I can at the same time. 10 o'clock is one of the best times to go to bed. And then I just lie there. I close my eyes and I do long, deep breathing. So, and the ratio would be wonderful to do like maybe inhale and you count to 3. Exhale, open mouth. You exhale through the open mouth and you count to 6. Yeah, and just inhale, watching your breath coming in, counting to 3. Exhale and count to 6. Something we all can do. Yeah, and then hopefully at one point, your brain slows down, your nervous system slows down, and you can go to sleep. Please know this has to be trained. Maybe, it's not happening overnight, but you can train your brain for sleep. If there's not a chemical imbalance in your head, then you have to take care of that. The other thing that really disrupts sleep is late eating. What I observed for my own self is when I was young, I could eat anything shortly before after bed and I would sleep. Now, my last meal is between 4 and 5 in the evening. I should say late afternoon. If I eat afterwards, what happens is because our metabolism is slowing down, our digestion is, everything slows down. So what happens if you eat after 6 p.m., your stomach is still working when you go to bed. So digestion is still in process. And while digestion is in process, your brain will not shut down. It's impossible. So ensure that your last meal is as early as possible. And it should be the lightest meal of the day. I know in America, you have a different rhythm. Often here, people have the heaviest meal at night. But in the evening, you should eat like a bagger. That is the European rule. We have the biggest meal for breakfast and then a good meal for lunch and the smallest meal in the evening. Very light. Go to bed a little hungry and see how you wake up the next morning. It's really amazing. And I love it because it's something that we can do. So remove the devices, ensure your room is pitch dark as much as you can. And sometimes I take blindfolds. If I'm somewhere where it's just impossible with the light in my bedroom, I have a blindfold on. And ensure that you don't eat late and drink anything late, even water, because otherwise you have to go and urinate at night. And that's such a bummer when you have to get up. And we know that happens with growing up a little bit more. So we want to not do that as much as possible. So that's for the sleep. It's number one for our brain health. I talked about stress. When you feel overthinking, catch yourself. If you live with a partner, catch each other and say, hey, where are you? You're in the future, or are you present in the here and now? When it comes to diet, and I invite you to really Google it, or these days it's ChatGPT and Claude and all these sites that we can visit. But there are some essential foods that I eat, because I know they do me good for my brain. Number one, I love walnuts. Walnuts, like 5 walnuts. Wonderful to soak them best overnight if you can, or at least for a few hours in water. Walnuts are great. Green tea. Have a cup, 1 or 2 cup of green tea. Not in the afternoon, has to be in the morning. Now there's a science that says 1 cup of coffee is really great. I leave that up to you. But what they discover right now is that it depends on when you drink your cup of coffee. If you drink your cup of coffee black on an empty stomach, you're really hurting yourself. So, but if you drink your cup of coffee, let's say around 10:30, 10 o'clock, between 10 and 11, supposedly that should be very good for your brain as long as it is mixed with food. that you have some oils in your body, or minimum a banana, something like that. That would be very, very helpful. Tea, green tea, coconut oil, olive oil. For people who eat fish, salmon is fantastic for the brain. And it has to be watched out again, unfortunately. It's the wild salmon, not the farm-raised salmon. So please educate yourself there. I'm not a nutritionist, but whatever I read and hear is that the farm-raised doesn't give us what the wild caught gives us. So there are a lot of sites you can go to, like I said, to educate can I eat for my brain? Yeah, so we often eat for our eyes because everything looks so good. But maybe also shifting our thinking and say, oh, how can I sharpen my brain? Unfortunately, we can't see it. If we go on a diet, we can see it, we lose weight and everything. We can't look inside. So my invitation is figure this out and support each other. If you find something that works for you, maybe you just want to share with your friends. I think brain discovery and brain health could be really a wonderful subject for us in our generation to come more together and to create a strong community for brain health. I think it's important. So that's good. The other thing is this exercise thing. It's like 20 minutes is the absolute minimum. And I do not suggest that you stay with 20 minutes a day. If you can move as much as you can. If you see an elevator and next to it is steps, take the steps. Look for every possibility you can find to move. One of the most important thing for our brain is our movement. This apparatus is a moving apparatus. It's not a sitting. It was not made for sitting. So far, and the movements have to be very specific. It's not just going out and walking, which is wonderful. Go for a 20-minute walk in the morning. The brain needs movement that has balance in it. Weight training. For some, it's Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, stretching, all these different kinds of ways to move our body, they're all needed. All of them. And balance, I have a trick with balance. I like to share that with my students because you don't want to, stand in a tree pose with one foot and one leg up and somewhere. You can do this at home if you feel you're a little shaky with it. You just hold on to a wall, a chair, or a table. But what I do is, when we stay in line at Whole Foods or you name it, Trader Joe's, wherever, just lift one foot, 1 to 2 inches off the ground while you're standing there. Nobody will pay attention to it, most likely. And then you switch. This is the most simplest thing on earth, to just lift one foot and then be aware of the imbalance, because the moment you're on one foot, your balance center, which is in between your ears, has to go into action. Yeah. So balance is something we lose with growing up, because we're disconnecting. The closer we move towards our transition, our death, the more we're disconnecting from the earth. So I want you to really practice standing on one foot. Just make a healthy habit. So that is a good habit to have. Just a little bit, you know. You don't have to put your hands here. You don't have to be in the tree pose. None of that is necessary. Stretching is important. So we have what's called the fascia. We have the meridians in our body. We have all these communication pathways within us. So the more we sit the more, for example, the fascia, it looks like a glue, yeah, and it has holes. It's like a sheet. The more we sit, it starts to glue together. And that's what occurs when we get up and we feel like stiff. That's because it's not really our muscles or anything. It's because the fascia got glued together. So that's why stretching, Tai Chi, Qigong, all those are perfect for us. It opens, yeah, and especially with stretching, if you stay in a stretch, stay for at least 7 to 10 breaths. That allows the fascia to open up. Weight training is important for our brain. We need the muscles, we need the strength. There's another thing that people don't know so much about is the joint movement. We need to move our knees, our hips, also our ankles, our wrists. We need to, because if our wrists become stiff, less information is going to the brain. Our knees have to be flexible. Our hips have to be flexible. All these joints have to move so that the communication to the brain is guaranteed. Yeah, so simple knee rotations, ankle rotations, and I will show just a few at the end here so that you can see what I mean. The other perfect thing, and here we come to the brain waves. Like I mentioned before, the brain waves, because we are so overthinking these days, the brain waves have to be balanced. So we need to get the gamma, the delta, the theta, whatever. We get it all into alignment. And the most beautiful thing for that is shaking. So all of us can shake. Yeah, everything I share with you is not for people who are able to become a pretzel in yoga. No, everything I share with you is doable for all of us. And we can shake sitting in a chair if standing is too, not safe enough anymore. We can do a lot. Shaking is the best thing. It brings the brain waves into alignment. I would suggest a 10-minute of shaking, and I will share at the end also how I do the shaking because there's a little technique to it. So shaking is good. We will get that going. And then this little brainstem in the back of our neck, which I mentioned before, you can also activate that. And that's the same thing. We're just moving our head and not like in the rotation like we often do in yoga. That's more thyroid and parathyroid gland. No, it's like shaking the head. So when you sit a lot at your laptop or computer, take a moment, take 3 minutes and just move your head into all directions and you fire up your little brainstem and it will light up your head, your brain, so to speak. Walking, shaking, stretching, all kinds of movements. Please give yourself the gift of movement. The saying, move it or you lose it, it's very true. Unfortunately, it's more true for your brain. Being lethargic, sitting a lot is just the worst thing we can do. What else comes to my mind? Well, let me see, it's a 10-2. Yeah, good food. Don't overeat. That's everything that drags you down. The other thing that I forgot to mention is like turmeric. So turmeric is a wonderful spice and you can cook with it. It's antiviral, antifungal, anti-everything. I call it anti-everything. And I mix it in the morning. I take, a good amount of turmeric, mix it with honey, black pepper, and then I put it into a little bit of water with lemon. And that's one of our very first drinks in the morning to just cleanse the body. So I forgot about that one. Okay, I don't think I've mentioned community. reach out to people. Also, the other thing is really read and learn. Make every day a little bit where you learn something new, not just moving around, but maybe a language, crossword puzzle. And my invitation is not to do it on a device. Now we do all these brain exercises on these devices. I don't know how that will affect the brain. So, but maybe you play cards with your friends or, games, board games or something. I think my assumption, just my assumption, that that's much healthier than playing like this the whole time. And the fingers, work your fingers because of the high nerve endings and they're connected to the brain. So keep your fingers very active. We do have, and it's Alzheimer's Association acknowledged the meditation from our yoga lineage. It's called the Kirtan Kriya. So we go like sa, ta, na, ma. So we speak sa, ta, na, ma. And we press the tip of our fingers, always starting with the index fingers. 11 minutes, 12 minutes a day. It actually fires up your brain. So, and for that, you can go to the website of Alzheimer's Association. They will have the 12-minute meditation available there for you. They explain everything. So I don't want to use this time now to explain this, but go to the Alzheimer's Association and you will find this meditation. It's wonderfully how they explained it. Practice it. And maybe, I always think it would be so great to have like little Satanama groups, where you come together as friends. And there are wonderful music tracks with it. There are different variations how you can use it. So there's a whole Kirtan Kriya meditation world out there. And it's a beautiful thing to do. I did, just as a background, I had twice a research project that I led with somebody else at the university in Santa Barbara for 6 weeks. And we had people in our group, the teachers, the leaders in the university who already started to get a little heady, so to speak, and their caregivers. And it was amazing. They did for 6 weeks every day the Satanama, so-called Kirtan Kriya, but the sounds are Satanama. And they did it for 6 weeks every day. They got an MRI before we started the project and an MRI after. The results were amazing. I do claim and say you won't heal Alzheimer's. You won't heal dementia. I think we can say that. But what it does, and that was also their saying and their feedback, they came back into the flow of their thinking. Their thinking wasn't interrupted anymore. Yeah, so, and we could see how the brain was impacted by the meditation at the end of it. So it's, like I said, it's an acknowledged research-proven meditation, which I highly recommend. And again, it's something we all can do. We can sit down and say Satanama. Okay, so I like to use a few minutes to show movements that I think are very crucial and we can all do. I think it's recorded. I don't know if you have to, if you want to get up, you do it with me. Otherwise, you can just watch it and then maybe do it with a recording. So the main thing for what I think is the most important one for the brain waves is to just have your arms hanging. Your jaw is relaxed, really relaxed. And your knees are soft and you have slight pigeon toes. They're slightly pointed. And the only thing I do is I just move my knees gently up and down. I inhale through my nose and I exhale open mouth. So I'm not doing the shaking, I'm not doing this. No, I just move my knees up and down. And you will see after a while, things start to shake. You know, the wrists start to shake, the fingers, you know, it goes up into the shoulders. And you inhale through the nose, exhale, open mouth. So 10 minutes. Trust me, it's wonderful. The other thing is our brainstem. And you can do this, like I mentioned before, when you sit at the laptop or so. Just move your head in all directions. If you have a neck injury or, you know, sensitivity, please be careful here. What you don't want to do with the activation of your brainstem is being in a circular motion all the time. You want to use and really play. How can I activate that little thing in the back of my head? So you can do this for 1 to 3 minutes in between, loosening up. To activate the left and the right hemisphere of your brain, you want to crisscross in front of your body. And everything I show you, you know, like I said, the shaking, standing, I would do for at least 5 to 10 minutes. My neck, I would do for 1 to 3 minutes. You know, do this as much as you can. Crisscross. You can crisscross here. You can also crisscross this way. You need to have a good balance. Yeah, lifting. Find ways to crisscross in front of your body. That stimulates the right side. You can also just cross one leg in front of the other and do it this way. Yeah. Stretching, very crucial. And like I said, stay here, breathe. And inhale into your tummy, exhale towards your spine. Stay in these postures for 7 to 10 breaths. Open up. Find postures where you feel like, I'm stretching into something. And for the joints, so I have my feet more than hip width apart. My fingers are around my knee. They are around my knees. Yeah, so I'm not pressing down. And moving my knees towards each other, out to the side. It's like oiling our joints. And you can go reverse. You can have your feet together. And just remember, we're opening up the communication pathways to our brain. You do reverse. Your ankle movement. You can do this standing, and if you need to hold on to something, do so. Yeah, you can also do this simply in bed. Before you get up, work your ankles. Hips, you know, really important. So those are, like I said, very, very simple things. Always ensure that you reverse. Good. The rest you can do on your own. You can walk, swim, find ways, find walking buddies, you know, people you can, instead of meeting for a cup of coffee, meet for a walk and talk. Yeah, or something to get out and to get moving. I hope this worked for you. You know that you got some inspiration, and please feel free, Penny and everybody, they have my contact information. If there's something I can help you with, just let me know. And now
That
I'm
was
up
fabulous.
for question and answer. Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to pass the microphone around.
Okay.
Any
Thank you,
questions?
Penny.
Thanks, Cindy, Ma.
Hi, Siddhi, it's Sue.
Hi.
I didn't catch, you said there was, when you were talking about the Kirtan Kriya, what was the website you were saying?
It's the Alzheimer's Association.
Alzheimer's. If you just put in Sata Nama, it'll come up. Okay. And there's music and it's lovely.
Sorry.
I
Anybody
can
else have a? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I can send it to Penny, and she can provide the website for you, Sue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Siddhi?
I'd just like to thank you for those exercises we did together.
Yeah.
I wrote some of them down, but there's other ones that I have already forgotten. So I'll watch this video again. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Same with me, Siddhi. It's good to see you again. And I really enjoyed every bit of it. And I have two pages.
Thank you.
I have 2 pages of notes.
Oh,
And I'm ahead of you by 12 years. So
wow.
so it's important. More important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Siddhi, thank you so much.